Hey YouTube, Puff and Snuff here. Ian, checking in again from beautiful Northeast Ohio. Another snuff review tonight. Another Old Mill snuff review tonight. And yeah, looking through my old videos, I am acutely aware that a disproportionate number of my snuff reviews seem to come from Old Mill. And I always tell myself, dude, you probably need to branch out and talk about something else for a change. But then he comes out with something new, or I place an order for some things I haven't had before. I get them in, I try them, and I can't help but jump on and talk about them. So, in that spirit, tonight we're talking about Butternut, which this is actually labeled Butternut Toast. He's kind of changed the name to Butternut, and more on that here in a second. First things first, I guess we'll talk about in the tin. You got that's a medium brown. I'm going to call that a medium fine grind is how it seems to me. It's not super dry. I mean, it's not toast dry, hence the name change. But it's a little drier than medium moisture, I think. Looks like it should be awfully easy to take. The tin aroma. It's butterscotch and it is vanilla. And you kind of get the sense that there's more going on in there. But those are the two just out of the tin. It's a big blast of butterscotch, and then kind of the vanilla follows up on it. It's a very creamy, very sweet, very desserty kind of snuff going on in there. So before we take this pinch, let's shoot over to his website, and I'll give you the highlights of the description. We've got Brazilian Muscovado sugar, which is kind of a hallmark, I think, of Old Mill blends. Clover honey, caramelized and mixed with Speyside malt whiskey. Tahitian vanilla bean, which I think is another Old Mill hallmark. Toasted white butternut walnuts and sea salt. It's aged. Added to, I don't see any tobacco in here other than air-cured Tennessee burley. So it looks like this is a one-leaf kind of blend. Sauces it, packs it, toasts it, gives it 6 months, and it's milled to a medium grind, salty, sweet, etc., etc. He calls it more of a butterscotch scent with the white walnuts playing second fiddle. Something similar to a hazelnut butter. And then he goes on to say that he has changed the name. It's a toasted snuff in the sense that he is toasting the leaf after it's been sauced, but it doesn't seem to follow the traditional definition. It's not super fine. It's not super dry. So he kind of dropped toast from the name. So butternut. So I've been warming this since I clicked record, and I think this is probably true of a lot of snuffs. I think it's doubly true of Old Mill. Because there's so much in there, whether it's essential oils or whether it's the whiskey that is in there, or all of the things that carry these flavors, really benefits from warming to bring that scent out. Highly recommended for really any complex snuff, especially Old Mill, because I don't know that Old Mill could do like a simple 1 cent straightforward snuff to save his life. Which may be a good thing, because there are plenty of really, really good single-cent, straightforward snuffs out there. But he's, in my mind, kind of become a master of that multi-layer thing. So let's give this a pinch. So first things first, super easy to take. Falls right where it should. Not a whole, it's not flying up into the sinuses or the back of the throat. Little bit of nicotine burn, probably to be expected, considering this has burley as the tobacco component. Burley tending to be a little on the higher side in the nicotine department, but nothing earth-shattering. As far as the scent, initially it follows the tin aroma. It is definitely butterscotch, vanilla, right up front. You get a little bit of the, aside from the buttery butterscotch, you do get some kind of butter in there as well, which is always a good thing. Um, initial impression is this is almost like a butterscotchy version of a Cru Brulee. Not exactly, but it's kind of in that vein if you've tried that one, and if you haven't, you should. Um, as it sits in the nose, some other things start to come out a little bit. I don't get walnut specifically out of this. There is a nuttiness. You can tell there's nut, but it's not a real pronounced walnut forward. Um, but it sits back there. There's also a it's faint, but it's in there, a kind of a woody, smoky component, which I can only assume is coming from the malt whiskey. Um, and it's definitely more wood than smoke, but it adds a certain depth to the thing, which is very much appreciated. Um, Yeah, and as it sits in there, it remains butterscotch vanilla, but as that kind of fades, as it sits in your nose, that nuttiness, the buttery, um, starts to come forward, and you kind of pick up that underlayer, those undertones. Um, and it's a really, really super pleasant snuff. There is a little bit of drip, um, and it kind of wants to work both ways. More to the front than the back, but it's definitely wanting to go both directions. The back drip isn't the most pleasant, but it's certainly not incredibly off-putting. It's not super bitter. It doesn't sting or burn as it drains. The front is a little more pronounced, especially if you take larger pinches or multiple pinches in a short amount of time. You're definitely going to want to have a hanky handy because you're going to need to use it. But what else we got going on in there? So as it fades, and I can tell you, having played with this now for a few days, the scent lingers for quite a while. This has some staying staying power. I've definitely left the room or walked outside into some different airflow. A full half hour after taking a pinch, and I still am picking it up in there. The lingering though, everything kind of falls away, and you're left with something that reminds you of like a butterscotch candy with French vanilla coffee creamer. If you can imagine that, it's super nice. I could see when the weather warms up a bit, or if you use this as an all day for a couple days in a row kind of snuff, I could see the sweetness kind of starting to drift a little to the cloying side, but used occasionally and probably seasonally, it's a very nice dessert snuff. It's an all day sweet kind of snuff, but don't overdo it. I think you could probably push this a little too far, and it can be a little too sweet, and you'll be looking for a change of pace sooner rather than later. But that aside, it is an excellent snuff. It is a pleasure to take. It is a pleasure in the nose, and yeah, it's just, boy, in the tin, when you go back to the tin, that butterscotch is just bam, it is right there. I talked about, I think I did a video. I'm not sure if I did. I'm not sure if I posted it somewhere online or if I did a video. Not Sam Gowath. Who is it? Wilson's Ashero. They have a butterscotch snuff, which was really a total letdown. I was expecting a butterscotch snuff, and what you get instead is basically your kind of typical dark brown, almost black, super briny, good tobacco snuff, similar to something you'd get from something in the Viking line, either the Viking brown or the Viking dark, with just a tiny, tiny little bit of butterscotch that kind of comes on at the end, or if you're outside and you get that fresh air, you get a little hint of butter. It's a total, that wasn't a bad snuff, but the stuff it was doing, get Viking Dark, it does it better. You know, the scent wasn't strong enough to really be pleasing. This hits all of those notes that I wanted the Wilson's Butterscotch to hit, and then it does a lot more with the vanilla and the butter and the nut. So, highly recommend Old Mill's Butternut Toast, or Old Mill Butternut, I guess we should call it. For me, it's an 8 out of 10. If you haven't ordered, or if you got an order coming soon, stick a smaller medium tin of that in there. Give it a shot. I think you'll like it. That is all for me for tonight. I have, I think, 12 tins of Snuff in the Snuff fridge that I still have not tried, or have only tried one pinch. So if I can get off my ass and get in front of this camera a little more often, there should be a pretty good barrage of Snuff reviews coming down the way here in the in the very near future. Ooh, got a little more back drip there than I planned on. Wow. All right, guys, that's it. I am out of here. Take it easy. We'll see you later.